Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage. Garry's wife silences critics. Layla Machado, Garry is setting the record straight. This is the reason people have been throwing shade at her and her UFC welterweight husband, Garry, on social media. They get comments about their age difference and even bring up a book Layla wrote back in 2010 called How to Be a Wag. This talks about women aiming to marry a young, wealthy athlete. According to her book's context, some fans started accusing Layla of her views. Later on, Layla drops a truth bomb in a series of videos she put together and posted on YouTube by Full Send MMA.
I can hardly call myself an author of an 11-page Audible-only satire story that was written in 2010. Now, 2010, that context is key because that was during the FIFA World Cup, where I was working at OK Magazine, working with various different gossip mags, and we were creating this hilarious satire look at wives and girlfriends in football. That's what WAG stands for, wives and girlfriends. It's got nothing to do with age, and I wasn't even then, I wasn't 40 then, was I? So come on, a little bit of maths. If you want to call me an author for that, sweet. I think it was more of a light-hearted podcast, but I was well ahead of my time. That satirical look is, if you listen to it, really silly, and anyone who takes it as fact has completely missed the mark.
However, fans keep attacking Garry and Layla for their age difference. In a consistently sarcastic tone, she summarized the whole drama. In her video, she straight up accuses the fans of sexism. Also, she argues that this criticism has broader implications, affecting not only her, but also other couples in the industry where the male partner is dating a female with the same age gap. Garry's wife, Layla, is not having any of the fan-fueled gossip. First things first, Garry and Layla are not taking these rumors lightly. Meanwhile, they're throwing around the big S word, sue. They've got their sights on potential defamation lawsuits. Eventually, slid into UFC middleweight champ Sean Strickland's messages, dropping hints about legal action. So, he is turning the tables on the gossip mill. Ferguson DUI dismissal sparks wild celebration. Here, UFC 296 star Tony Ferguson gearing up for a showdown with Paddy Pimblett. Recently, he has successfully cleared a DUI charge from his record through a plea deal. The court in Los Angeles dismissed the misdemeanor DUI, and in return, Ferguson pleaded no contest to a reckless driving charge. Now, Ferguson got into a bit of trouble back in May, but it seems like it didn't throw a twist into his fighting career. Still, he's entering UFC 296, hungry for a win after dropping 6 straight. Switching gears to the women's featherweight scene, it's a whole new ballgame. PFL founder Don Davis spilled the beans after the PFL championship. The next big showdown is between Larissa Pacheco and the mighty Cris Cyborg. During his discussion, Don Davis is laying out the fight plan for the women's featherweight division. He announces during the post-fight press conference that the next big showdown is going to be champ versus champ. Larissa Pacheco is set to face off against the fearsome Cris Cyborg, who holds the championship in Bellator. Most importantly, Davis emphasizes that this matchup is well-deserved for Larissa. However, he doesn't stop there. Davis spills the beans on the grand plan for 2024. After the showdown between Larissa and Cris, the next mega fight on the horizon is between Cris Cyborg and Kayla Harrison in 2024.
It's champ versus champ. Larissa's earned that, but will Cris then fight Kayla in 2024? 100%. That is going to happen. Cris will have 2 fights in 2024. Kayla have 2 fights in 2024. One of those will be Cris against Kayla. But we think that Larissa has earned that. Once again, you have to give them champ versus champ. Cris is the champ of Bellator. Larissa's the champ here. So you've got to see that fight happen first. And then coming out of that, though, you'll see Cris Cyborg against Kayla Harrison as the next fight in 2024.
Overall, the strategy is clear. Showcase the best of the best in the women's featherweight division, making it a year to remember for fight fans. DC drops fighter strategies. The turning developments of UFC got some fight chatter on the horizon. Now, Daniel Cormier's throwing in his 2 cents about Islam Makhachev's big plans for 2024, and spoiler alert, he's totally on board. DC's not just on board, he's practically cheering from the sidelines. He's rooting for his friend Makhachev to take on what DC's calling the gauntlet of top-tier lightweight contenders. Meanwhile, Daniel Cormier is breaking down the potential opponents for Islam Makhachev in his ambitious plan to fight 3 times in 2024. Cormier, speaking on his YouTube channel, lays out a hypothetical lineup for Makhachev's next challenges. You know, he starts by suggesting that Charles Oliveira would be the first in line for Makhachev. Oliveira, the current lightweight champ, is an obvious and formidable choice for a title defense. Moving on, Cormier points to Justin Gaethje as the second potential opponent. Gaethje has expressed his intention to wait for a title shot, and according to Cormier, he sees this as an enticing matchup. Cormier notes that Gaethje believes his fighting style aligns well with Makhachev's. Finally, Cormier proposes Dustin Poirier as the third potential opponent for Makhachev. He visualizes Makhachev having the opportunity to face 3 of the most relevant lightweights of the past decade in a single calendar year: Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, and Dustin Poirier.
What do those fights look like? Charles Oliveira first. We know that. Dustin Poirier, on one hand, said he believes that if Oliveira that fought Gaethje, shows up to fight Makhachev, he thinks that Oliveira wins. So we could just be honestly throwing shit in the wind. Because if you listen to a guy in the weight class, he believes that Charlie Olives has the skill set and the ability to beat Makhachev in fight number 1. So we don't need to go into fight 2 and fight 3. But say Makhachev gets it done in March, I will say, because that's what I'm going to believe. And we haven't been to Saudi Arabia. We haven't been to Saudi Arabia yet. So that's going to be a big one. I don't know if it gets bigger than if you're having a guy like Islam fight or Khamzat fight. But I would think it's going to be around. It's not that hard, guys, to at least try to start piecing these things together. Who would be second? Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje has made his intentions clear. He's going to wait. He's going to wait. And I know Justin. I spent a lot of time with Justin. He wants this fight because he feels like he has the good style to fight Islam Makhachev. Third, I think we get Dustin Poirier. I think Islam Makhachev has an opportunity in next year to run the gauntlet. Of all the most relevant lightweights that we have seen over the course of the last 10 years, he could fight Charles, Justin, Dustin, all in a calendar year.
Now it seems that DC's already pictures the fight nights, and he's got front row seats to the action. So, get ready for a wild ride in the octagon. 2024 is shaping up to be a year of fierce showdowns. Alex Pereira exposes Hill's game plan. The newly crowned champ, Alex Pereira, is not buying into Jamahal Hill's promise of a stand-up battle when they inevitably clash for the UFC title in 2024. Just a few weeks back, Pereira collected his second world title. Now, the stage is set for a face-off between Pereira and Hill. In a live YouTube Q&A, he's expressing some serious doubt about Hill sticking to his word. It's like Pereira's reading between the lines and gearing up for a battle that might not be as straightforward as Hill claims. During his chit-chat, Pereira, speaking through a Portuguese translator, acknowledges that Hill has been vocal about knocking him out and avoiding wrestling, emphasizing a commitment to staying in the striking realm. Pereira expresses a sense of skepticism about Hill's confidence, suggesting that Hill might be a bit too overconfident. Pereira contrasts his approach during a fight camp. Essentially, Pereira is downplaying Hill's bold statements, indicating that he believes Hill might be too sure of himself and emphasizing the importance of staying grounded and focused on the actual fight rather than making grand predictions. Everybody saw that he was saying he will knock me out and he won't wrestle me. He will stay in the striking and he will knock me out, Pereira said via a Portuguese translator. Sure, obviously every guy who could be the next challenger for the champion will start talking, but I think he's a little bit overconfident. I never said I will knock someone out or whatever, because you are in a fight camp, you prepare yourself, you have to focus on the fight, and I always say I will give you guys a good fight and a good show. But predicting what happens is a little bit difficult, and I think he's a little bit overconfident with everything that he's saying. Surely the suspense is real, and fight fans are serious about Octagon's action when these two titans finally go toe-to-toe. MMA superstar entangled in hate speech controversy. Conor McGregor's making headlines again, and this time, it's not for what went down in the octagon. The Irish police, known as the Garda, are reportedly looking into the notorious for openly criticizing the Irish government's stance on mass immigration and demanding some serious action. So, McGregor's been posting on X that there's no tomorrow. He's thrown out bold statements like "Ireland, we are at war, and we are only warming up." Well, it seems it's got something to do with a recent Dublin incident, allegedly by someone with a migrant background. But wait, there's more. McGregor's not holding back on his opinions about the Irish government, calling their decision to let foreigners vote the most preposterous, ridiculous, scheming attempt at gaining votes. And he's not done. He's pointing fingers at what he calls the country's revolving door, suggesting it somehow led to the tragic stabbing of a young Irish woman. Additionally, McGregor also denounced the violent actions and protests that followed the stabbings. Clearly, he expressed his views while trying to distance himself from the chaos. However, the Garda isn't letting this slide and has kicked off an investigation into what they're calling. Certainly, McGregor's making waves both inside and outside the ring. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.